Oh, I know that sound. It's time for the Beer and News Report. Hi, and welcome to the Beer and News Report. Cheers. Today I'm doing the show from my front yard, so you can see my house over there, Orange Street in the back, cars going back and forth because I live on a busy street, and my neighbor's picking fruit. So if you see him in the background, don't worry about it. I'll let all my neighbors pick some fruit. Anyways, I was at this party, and this atheist was talking, or I should say arguing against a born-again Christian, right? And I know people, hey, what kind of parties did you go to? Well, hey, there was beer here. I was invited. What more do I need to say? Anyways, as they're talking back and forth about religion and all this stuff, Armageddon came up, and then the coming of the Antichrist. Oh, the atheist took sort of a Penn and Teller approach, saying that predictions were so vague that anything could match what the Bible was saying. And the born-again Christian was amazed at how obtuse the atheist was, when what's happening around us is so obviously proving what the Bible predicted. So as the night progressed, I started thinking, this would be a great show. And I started taking notes on my cell phone. It was hard to interrupt the argument, especially when it got heated. But every now and then I said, hey, I need you to clarify something. So this show is going to be my interpretation of that argument and the current signs of Armageddon caused by the Antichrist who is coming. In case you don't know, Armageddon means the end of the world, and the Antichrist is the figure that will turn out to be the opposite of Christ, Antichrist, as predicted in the Bible. I don't think I need to tell you to pop a beer for this one, but I think you should. Cheers. Now, if you're wondering where this is in the Bible, you can find some of it in the readings of Daniel, but most people go to Revelations, which is in the New Testament. It's talked about there in the full detail, but it's biblical writing, right? So the details aren't really that full. Of course, these are predictions given from a prophet who was seeing visions. One of the visions that he saw, he said the skies will turn blood red. Now, I've personally seen this in California when we had the fires, and I woke up and there was red everywhere. The sun was clouded out by the smoke, and the skies, in fact, did turn red. So I got to tell you, it's a weird feeling, right? When you see all this red around you and you're thinking, oh, hey, wait a minute, that sign's true. But this also happened in Chicago and New York City because of all the forest fires in Canada. And I'm sure this most likely happened in other countries because forest fires just don't happen in the United States. It's just that our news doesn't report on it. So that's the first one, right? The Bible predicted that we'd be seeing the coming of the Antichrist because the skies would be turning red. And if you've ever been through this, it basically turned me off of campfires, right? I just don't like the smell of smoke anymore. You sit by campfire, and after like 3 hours and the beer's all gone, all right, that was fun. But when you got to go like 48 hours of smelling campfire smoke, it's not enjoyable. Yeah, and that's why I don't like campfires anymore. Cheers. I need to point out one thing that happened in the argument. The born-again Christian guy guessed at what he thought the Antichrist would be. Yeah. And that's what made this argument so interesting. And he didn't say Trump. I know some of you anti-Trumpers are out there saying that he's the Antichrist. No, it's not Trump. I mean, come on. The Antichrist is going to be wanted by everyone around the world. Trump isn't even wanted by everyone here in America. So just throw that thought out. Now, here's the twist. If you've read Revelations, some of the things that the prophet says doesn't make sense. And the feeling is that he saw something that he didn't understand. For instance, sticks flying through the sky with fire coming out of them. It is assumed that what he saw in his vision was a rocket, and he didn't understand what a rocket was. So with that in mind, we have to look at the Antichrist as something that we don't fully understand right now. Okay? Are you with me? So who is the Antichrist? It's the computer. I know, the computer isn't human. Well, not yet. But with advances in robotic technology and the growth of artificial intelligence, a very human-looking and acting android could be in the future. It makes you think, doesn't it? Yeah. Cheers. So how does the computer compare to the Antichrist? The Antichrist will do miracles in everything: science, medicine, warfare, even in our personal lives. The computer is doing what we call miracles in all these things. First off, who can live without a computer? And just to be clear, your cell phone is a computer. Sure, some people, they don't have a computer or a cell phone, like my parents, but they're in their 90s and the Antichrist isn't here yet. And as morbid as this is going to sound, my parents are the lucky ones, as they don't have to live through it. Sorry, Mom and Dad. Okay, getting back to the computer. Now, name an industry that the computer isn't in. Computers are used to design chips to make other computers smarter. They're in cars. Cars are being made by robots. Surgeries are being done with computer assistants. Wall Street does computer trading. And wars are being fought using drones and smart bombs. Here's the thing. If you don't use a computer and you go up against somebody who does, you're almost guaranteed to fail. And look at the effects of artificial intelligence, or AI. We have Alexa and Siri for your vocal commands. Your car can drive itself. ChatGPT can write a paper for you. Sure, right now teachers can pick it out and see the difference, but give it time and pretty soon you're not going to be able to tell a difference. I even had ChatGPT write a show for me. Yeah, cheers. Have you heard of Neuralink? Now, this is another company by Elon Musk that puts a chip in your brain to stop seizures. And that's a noble cause, right? I mean, what's wrong with that? Well, nothing. In fact, Neuralink hopes to be able to give paraplegics and people with spinal cord injuries the ability to move again. And actually, they aren't the only company doing this. I use Elon Musk because, hey, I want to add cachet to the show, right? It's Elon Musk. Now, let's go down the road a bit and think of what else that chip could do, right? You first want to focus on noble causes because that'll gain acceptance from the people. So, curing seizures, helping people walk again, maybe aiding people with learning disabilities so they can maintain their same level of learning as their peers. That would be nice. But once all this is done, someone is going to use it and say, maybe I want to improve my physical abilities. I've already seen this with steroids and other physical enhancing drugs. Now, what professional baseball player wouldn't want a chip in their head that makes their reaction time quicker, making it impossible to miss a pitch that would normally be in the strike zone? What about a pro football quarterback? Being able to read the field and know the best receiver, how hard to throw that ball to get it to that best receiver, and how much spin to put on it. No sport would be immune to it. Think how much better you could be at gymnastics, table tennis, hockey, archery. If you're competing against someone who has this advantage, you're going to lose. And you're going to lose bad. Cheers. Okay, so people who have nerve injuries and sports players will have these brains and implants in them. But it's not me. I'm a normal guy. What do I need the brain implant for? Well, what if this chip could make you a better chess player? And what if you could know every tactic and strategy that the chess masters know? What if this chip made you an instant master of any musical instrument? Piano, guitar, bongos. Any type of musical instrument, you would automatically know how to play it. You'd be a better writer, a singer, manager, lawyer, even politician. Learning would become easy for you. You could speak any language. You would be able to draw something other than stick figures, which is what I draw, and people would know, hey, that's an awesome drawing. Who wouldn't do this? Because if you don't, you won't be able to compete in the real world. No one would hire you. It may go so far as countries may ban you from their borders. Okay. So I put a chip in my brain. So what? How does that connect me to the Antichrist? Well, the Bible says that people will take the mark of the Antichrist. Now, supposedly this mark is 666, and I don't even know the meaning of 666. In fact, I have friends that have joke phone numbers that are just 666, right? People get tattoos with that. Does that mean that you have the mark of the Christ if you have a 666? Antichrist, sorry. What if the mark of the Antichrist is having a computer chip put inside us? I don't know. But, talking about it, how can you not live without it? How can you not avoid getting it? I don't have the answer for that one, I'm sorry. I'm just going to move on. Cheers anyways. Another sign that the Bible predicts is the rise of false prophets. And these are people who claim to be speaking the truth, but in reality are lying to your face. Now, it seems obvious that we would know when someone is lying to our face and we would call them out on it, right? You'd yell, I know the moon's not made of green cheese, so quit telling me that it is. But is this really what we would do? I want you to think about social media and how AI is tuning you to whatever is keeping you to use their product, right? You got Facebook, Reddit, Snapchat, Google, LinkedIn, Twitter, which is now called X, and all those other ones. A lot of people are getting their news, or at least what they think is news, from these sites. But how accurate are they? How much influence does that have on us? There are people making a lot of money on these sites, and they're called influencers. Now, who is telling the truth? Is it John Oliver, Glenn Beck, Bill Maher, Tucker Carlson? What about him? The list goes on, but wait a minute. I'm on that list, right? Because I'm here talking on this show right now, telling you what I think is the truth about what the future is. And I'm looking back saying, you in the future, we may look back and go, what the hell is he talking about? What is he drinking? Well, I'm telling you now, it's beer. I am drinking beer. Cheers. All right, finally, the Bible talks about natural disasters occurring more often and at a larger scale. Well, basically, that's global warming, right? I mean, come on, this one's obvious. Rising sea levels, forest fires going out of control, hurricanes breaking records, tornadoes happening in the north. You mean to tell me Al Gore was our modern day prophet? Well, in case you live in a cave and you don't know what global warming is, because humans are burning fossil fuels, right? It's more carbon dioxide going into the atmosphere, which is trapping more of the sun's rays, which in turn raises the temperature of the earth. So now that we started to cut back on the use of emissions, right? Because we're using green technologies. That's solar, wind, hydro, and other non-fossil fuel resources. But the world as a whole is actually increasing the use of fossil fuels to build their economies to the level of the U.S., or at least close to it. Now, China has stated that their carbon footprint will continue to increase all the way to 2030 because they're in a transition right now. You just can't turn off coal and oil and go switch to green technology. It takes time. And now currently China is the largest producer of carbon emissions. And then there's India, right? They're growing fast and they're having more people than China. So whatever they use to build their economy, they're going to use it, right? And that goes for all developing countries. So global warming is going to be here for a while. Yeah, unfortunately. Cheers. There's something else that came up in the argument that I overheard at another party, and it just popped into my head as I'm writing this. How do I say this? There are people out there, and they believe in the stars, right? And the moon, and the planets, and all that stuff. Basically, they're called astrology. You know, you go to a bar, you see a girl, you go, hey, what's your sign? There's tons of them out here in California. Heck, they're everywhere. I even know some back in Vermont, too. Even I, from time to time, I check out the horoscope because it's fun, right? But there are people who really are into this. And when it comes to relating astrology to the Bible, they corrected me. They said that the Bible doesn't say until the end of time. What that says is till the end of the age. Now, what does that mean? What is an age? Well, if you look at an astrological chart, you'll see that it's a circle with 12 divisions, right? And the 12 divisions are the 12 signs of the astrological chart, right? You got Virgo and all that stuff, and Leo and Cancer, whatever. The Earth revolves around this circle and will move through each sign eventually. An age lasts 2,160 years. I don't know how they figured that out, but that's what Google told me. And currently we are in the age of Pisces, and we're about to enter the age of Aquarius. You know, like that song from the 70s, from the Fifth Dimension? Aquarius. Yeah. All right. Well, that's where we're headed. Cheers. Now, wait a minute. What the heck does this have to do with the Bible and the coming of the Antichrist? Well, so far we've lived in 3 ages. The first age was Taurus, the bull, and that age ended when Moses came into power. And for those non-Christians out there, Moses came down from this holy mountain with the 10 Commandments, and when he got to the bottom, the people had built this icon of gold, and it was a golden calf, and they were praying to it because they were in the age of the bull. Moses sees this, gets pissed off, and he throws the 10 Commandments down upon them, and he says, kill off these calf worshippers. This represents the end of the age of Taurus, the bull, and the beginning of the age of Aries, the ram. And supposedly, I need to ask my Jewish friends this, but they have this religious thing where they blow a ram's horn. Supposedly is because that was the age of the ram. Now, for us Christians, Jesus represents the third age. We went into the age of Pisces, and Pisces is the fish. And how many times have you seen a car? Call it the Jesus fish, right? Because there's a little fish outline on the back of the car. And that's because we're in the age of Pisces. All right, so who's going to represent the age of Aquarius? I don't know that. Maybe it's the Antichrist. But if you think of the astrological representation of Aquarius, it's the water bearer. Now, what if that pitcher of water is actually the polar ice caps melting? Aquarius would want the sea levels to rise. That's his domain. Okay, wait a minute. Are you telling me that this astrological stuff is real? I mean, heck, one beer might not be enough. Cheers. All right. I think I've messed with your heads enough so far. So if you're looking for an answer from me, sorry, I don't have one. If the computer actually is the Antichrist, we're all screwed, right? I don't see how we can live without it. I don't see us stopping that technology anytime soon. It totally makes sense to me, and yet I have to deny it because if I didn't, I'd be turning away from my faith, which I was never that strong to begin with, but you know what I mean. And astrology, I always considered it a joke to me, but maybe those ancient oracles were onto something. It seems more than a coincidence. Not that I'm intending on taking up astrology anytime soon. Heck, I hardly go to church, so why would I add a new religion, astrology, to mess up my life? If I wanted to do that, I'd get married. If I wanted PSTD, I'd have kids, right? Luckily, I have beer. Cheers. Oh, man. My beer's almost empty. That means we're at the end of the show. If you want to contact me, you can reach at this email address. Today, I'm drinking La Canada del Diablo by Devil's Canyon Brewing. Hey, we're talking about the Antichrist, which is the devil. So I figured this would be the beer, with the devil's name on it. That'd be appropriate. It's not bad. It's a pale lager, and I like lagers. But what does that word pale mean? It means that the brewer used a lighter version of hops or yeast when making this. When you compare it to like a porter or a dunkel, right? This is the lighter version of it. So this one is a touch hoppier than I like, but it's light and crisp. So I would definitely drink this again, even if I wasn't at a party. I almost drank this beer called Light and Tight by Sunday Beer Company. I figure Sunday, right? That's sort of religious. But it didn't sound as good as the devil beer, right? But it tastes a lot better. I mean, this beer would never have lasted the whole show. I would have chugged it down. All right, hopefully I've shocked you enough by now and you're sitting there in a half coma with your mouth open. By all means, click the like button. And of course, if you want to punish yourself some more, click the subscribe button and then click the bell icon next to it, and this will notify you when I post a new show. Till then, keep your beer cold and your interests hot. Cheers.